I wish when I was younger, somebody had taught me more about the concept of delaying gratification. And it wasn't until I was 17 or 18, I started trading stocks. Now, I don't do that at all anymore because I think that's an immoral way to make money. More on that another time. But I understood the value of compounding returns, this idea that you would invest something and slowly you'd make incremental gains until it was eventually so much it's kind of unfathomable. And most people on earth live not understanding this concept, never being able to acquire the benefit of compounding returns. And it's because we go into school, and school is built exactly like a prison. Not only is it a physical, but it literally looks like a prison. You've got halls, you've got classrooms that look like dungeons, you have a cafeteria. It's exactly like a prison. You got a bit of yard time if you're lucky. It also conditions you to what? Go somewhere, be there for 8 hours, listen to a bunch of people, do as you're told. You don't really even know the point of a lot of this information that you're consuming or the point of what you're doing, but people tell you this is what you're supposed to do. Then oftentimes you go home, but it's dark. By the time you get home, it's after school, you do your homework, it's dark. You can't even play outside like a normal kid. You do this until you're 18 or 19, sometimes 21, 22, and then you go into the next prison, the prison of the 9 to 5. You're conditioned in school this whole time for this routine, to listen to authority figures, your managers, so to speak, that are the ones telling you exactly what you need to do all the time. And then you do this for 40 more years. You turn 60 or 65 years old if you're lucky. Most of my generation might not retire until they're 70, 75, and their bones are weak and their bodies are sick because they've been consuming microplastics and chemicals and toxins their entire life. And right when you're about to die, you can enjoy retirement and get a little paycheck here and there for your 60 years of slavery. A lot of people don't see school as slavery, but that's exactly what it is. Like, it's the same thing, right? You're just forced to be somewhere, you're forced to do some labor. There's an idea that it's for your own gain, but you can't make the conscious decision as a young adult. They've just tricked you with this idea of a teenager so that you can just delay having responsibility and authority and freedom over your life, make your own autonomous decisions. And your parents are brainwashed to listen to the authorities as well. That's why your parents get embarrassed if you did something as crazy as not go to school or whatever. And it's this entire social mechanism that brainwashes people into ultimately living a life that's not theirs. And it's like you're never able to live life to where you get any momentum because you're always working for the week or for the next 2 weeks. There's a reason why paychecks are every 2 weeks, right? You get the paycheck, you're obviously miserable. So of course you're going to spend it on goy entertainment, wasting money. A lot of people do drugs and alcohol, and then they start the week over at zero. They never build any momentum in their life. Every weekend is just trying to find an escape because their life is so miserable. At the same time, I look at grocery bills. I might spend $2,000 or $3,000 a month on food, healthy food, and I see that the average wage might be $50,000. I have no idea how people are surviving. How are they living? You have, besides the groceries, rent, insurance, car payment. A lot of these people pay for school. And the reality is that most people can't afford it. They literally can't afford food. They are just getting a little bit more into debt. Get a mortgage, debt. Credit cards, debt. Car loan, debt. Debt. So you're always living life on the edge. You're never able to break out. And to do anything remarkable with your life, you have to take a hit to your social status. When you go out and you want to start a business, you have to be willing to tell everybody around you, no, I'm not going down that prescribed path. And people will frown upon you. People will look down on you. And you have to take a financial hit ultimately to shoot for any big goal. But that's the only cost. It's just your ego. That's the only cost for freedom. When the slave masters, they try to escape the plantation, of course they're shunned. Anybody that disobeys, they're shunned. But that's the only cost. Because once you're free, you're out. The reality is that most people, they fear making these decisions to put their life in a better place, to shoot for long-term goals because they're so scared of the short-term ramifications, and they can't bear that short-term pain because there's always that short-term pain. They can't withhold that degeneracy on the weekend. And we almost fear this stuff like we're going to die, right? Like it's like you take this financial risk, you're going to die. But the reality is you're going to be totally fine. Grass-fed beef is $5 a pound. You're not going to go homeless. Somebody's going to let you stay at their place if you're not a retard. You're going to have water. So what are you really scared of? The only real downside is, what are your parents going to say? What is your family going to say? What are the friends that probably don't really care about you? What are they going to think? Or let's forget even them. A lot of us were scared to make these decisions for the sake of bettering our lives because of literally random people. We don't even care about them at all, but we care about what they think of us. There's a lot of people that you literally don't know anything about their lives. Maybe they just follow you on social media, yet you care so much about how they perceive you. And you let this fear, you let this subconscious obsession about what others think about you control you your entire life, and you never make decisions for yourself. You're always following the script. And the thing that I hate about following the script is it boxes you in. It boxes you in into one way of thinking. It boxes you into one lifestyle. You completely curtail your creativity. You see kids, they're so young, they're filled with light. They're filled with this energy. They're filled with creativity and optimism. When you ask them their dream job, they always say amazing things. But then slowly they continue following the script until it degrades their ability to pick their own directions in life. That's what creativity is. It's being able to determine your own way of doing things, but they program this out of you. And this is why I hated university. It's like I followed the script from K through 12. I didn't have a choice, right? I was enslaved back then. I followed the script, exactly what they told me. When I was in my final year of high school, I literally thought, what beneficial things did I learn that are actually about to serve me for this next chapter in life as an adult? And I literally I just started remembering random facts. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Nobody taught me how to optimize my mitochondria so that I could live life with more energy, with more focus. Nobody taught me that. But they told me some random fact that I have literally never used till this day. And I don't think anybody's going to use until the day they die. All these just literal, it's slop. Here's what I noticed about all the people in university, the guys my age when, it was time to go to college. All of them were still degenerate. They still just chased their desires. And I'm not trying to even say I was better or anything like that. I just started learning, okay, I need to make sacrifices for my life, but it's because I was put in a hard place, because I was put in a place where I had so many directions to go, but I had autonomy and I had agency to choose what I wanted to do. But because of that stress, that pressure, I leveled up. I got better. I stopped just following what people told me, and I had to create my own path. And because of that stress, it forms creativity in your brain, not just creativity, but you really get this drive that you can see most people, it's completely extinguished. Why? Because let's say you're somebody graduating from high school, you go into university, it's like the same thing. You just listen to your parents, you're supposed to do this, go to university. Of course, you're just going to continue being a degenerate for the most part, or at least more than the rest of people. Because it's like there's no stress, there's no pressure, there's no cocoon to grow in. You're still around all the same people. They're all NPCs as well. So of course you're going to follow the script. And then they get this piece of paper that everybody says you're supposed to get. And now degree holders have a higher unemployment rate than people that don't. But this isn't even really about university. It's that, okay, once they get out, now they have pressure. Now they have to become adults. So it's like you have this generation of boys. They're supposed to be young men, but they continue being boys all the way up through college because they're just following what other people told them to do. There's no pressure. There's no idea of adventure. Okay, I have to figure out life on my own, because that's when we become men. When you just do as you're told, you're completely limited cognitively. And so alhamdulillah, I didn't fall for this. And for 4 or 5 years, I just endured a lot of stress. It was very difficult. But what kept me afloat is I knew that whenever you have a long-term goal, you always have to sacrifice for it. At first, it's always difficult. It's this idea of the valley of despair. Once you get out of the valley of despair, then you shoot up. Why? Because you learn all the difficult lessons of life. You are humbled. Your character is refined. You get perspective. You understand the realities of life because you're not sheltered. This is when boys become men. And so I urge you, if you're a young man watching this, ask yourself, have I become a man? Have I gone through that rite of passage of not knowing the next step? or not knowing where I need to be in a month, of not knowing what the final outcome would be, always being uncertain of it. You have doubts, you have fears. That's where you grow. You grow when you encounter these things. And I like this saying, success and failure on the same road. Failure is just an early exit. You took the early exit because you let the fear, you let the doubt, you let the opinions of others control you. But once you get past that, once you have enough determination to drive past that exit, no, I'm not going to take the easy way out. You might have a lot of hard times still coming after that, right? It's like so many early exits, like the opportunity is always there. And you're like, when does it end? When are things finally going to work out? And then eventually you're patient enough, you persevere enough, you trust in God, and He brings you out of that valley of despair and you achieve everything that you were after. And it just took determination, it took confidence, it took not following the script, and it took patience and perseverance that whole time. Take care.